as vegans, I think there's a lot for us to learn about how to actually grow vegan.
I don't think vegans are the main reason that we've got monocrops and destruction of the rainforest. I think most of that, if you look into it, is being fed to animals. But I think that veganism is not exempt from criticism. If we're just packaging all our food in plastic and buying stuff that's grown in an unsustainable way, we're not actually providing an alternative, we're just reducing the harm of our current system. And that's what's kind of drawn me to learning more about vegan organic, vegan permaculture, those kind of systems of growing, because they're actually offering an alternative. They're actually looking at, well, if we really think about what our ethics are, and if we really want to take that to the next level, how would we grow our food? How would we support the ecosystems? How would we support the planet? How can we actually do something that's inspiring and aspirational, rather than just sort of a continuation of the same problems that we're already seeing?
Do you think that this vegan permaculture thing is just a hippie thing?
No. I think people that don't understand it, that haven't lived it or got much experience of it, they generalise it as being a hippie thing, and I don't even like saying the word hippie because it's kind of been demonised a bit. But it's not. It's just a gentle, slow, simple way of living, which I think people that come from like the everyday hustle and bustle of the cities, they're not quite used to that, so they're kind of a bit not fearful of it, but people don't like what they don't know.
They say we went to the moon, everything is possible, and we just have to have the right intentions and really work on those intentions, and obviously just check in with ourselves and see if we're going in the right direction, look at our goals and actually try and move towards somewhere we envisage as perfection, and maybe in our lifetimes we'll have it. If not, we may come back in another life, and at least we've done the work to put that in place.
Vegan permaculture is, for me, a way of living in harmony with the world around me, and I think it applies to a lot of aspects of life, from food to clothes to travel to a lot of different things.
I really stumbled on it by accident. I went to Iceland and I found this off-grid organic tomato greenhouse, and I was just completely in awe with everything about it. Like the taste, it tasted different, it was family run, so there was a real sense of love there, and I was just like, oh, I really want there to be somewhere like that where I live. And I googled organic vegetable greenhouse one day, and this place was 10 minutes from my house. I was like, no way! So I got straight in my car, drove down here, and I was like, wow, I need to be here. Cut my hours down at work so I could volunteer here.
Anything that promotes the well-being of all beings is bound to be good for the world.
I feel like it's like just an integral part of our being. It's like reconnecting with nature, and for me it just kind of gets us back in touch with our true essence, which is nature, because kind of I think as humans we see like there's a circle of life and we're in the middle of that circle, kind of manipulating it and trying to control it, when really we're just a part of that circle, and this place reminds me of that.
I think especially with people who are going vegan in the last few years, a lot of probably what they're consuming is processed food. So they're not even aware that what they're eating isn't organic, but that what they're eating isn't grown in a vegan way. So it can contain animal products somewhere along the supply chain.
I don't know, like I just felt kind of like my soul had just been lifted, like I was the happiest I'd ever been, like knowing that there were people out there doing these things, and they was doing it just from kindness, and not because like food is sold to us as a product, so they'll put all these kinds of things in food not to benefit us, because the mainstream people at the top or whoever's doing all that agriculture, conventional agriculture, they don't care about our health and what nourishes us. They want the money, so they're selling us a product and they'll pump that with really bad things, not caring about the consequences. Whereas I feel like vegan permaculture, it's complying with nature, but it is what's best for us, and it has that intention as well.
Vegetables grown from seed that might be GMO, that can have animal DNA in it, that's grown with fertilisers, with compost, etc., that contain animal products. So as vegans, I think especially when we're eating out or buying processed food. We're not even aware how that food is made.
It's kind of allowing nature to thrive, and the way I kind of see us as like gardeners, like we're kind of like pioneers of the land. Like as long as there's an environment, we nurture that environment so that everything within it can grow, because like plants, insects, life, everything wants to live. If we just give it the right environment in the ways that we can, then it will thrive. So yeah, we'll definitely be giving it like a big push.
Because it's not about monoculture, and it's not about using a lot of resources in the growing cycle, such as an excessive amount of water because you're irrigating. So permaculture doesn't need to use intensive irrigation systems, if any irrigation at all, other than what's falling from the sky or collected as rainwater. And also what goes into the making of fertiliser products, pesticides, fungicides, all of the resources that go into making those products uses a lot of electricity, water, and has damaging byproducts. But in permaculture, because it is in its nature organic, and especially vegan permaculture, closed system, less waste, non-toxic product, non-toxic outputs and inputs, then yeah, it's just a much cleaner way of making food. So a natural permaculture and vegan permaculture system such as this, it's diverse, it's biodiverse, not just in the varieties of crops that it's growing, but in the insects and the wildlife that work in symmetry with the crops.
What baffles me is I walk into someone's house, I go into the garden, there's just concrete, and I'm just like, dude, you've got all this outdoor space, like rip the concrete up and just grow, or just put some plant pots, like just small, simple steps. Because all it took for me was a simple seed. My first ever thing that I tried to grow was broad beans, and just planted the seed, and every day I went up to the pot and I was like, has it sprouted? And it sprouted, and one day it sprouted, and I was like, oh yes, well done. It's just that tiny little seedling that done that for me, so it doesn't take much.
Do you think there could ever be a future where this is the norm, where permaculture is the way that we get our food? Do you think that could actually work as a dream for the future?
Well, I believe that that's what the ancients done, because how else did they do it? They didn't have technology and what we have now. I kind of think we need to go through a process of unlearning and unstripping back all this unnecessary stuff. I feel like it's completely necessary for our being, and eventually we'll get there. But we have to strip away all the unnecessary things first.
The way that we're growing food it's like an extraction industry. It kind of reminds me of the oil industry in some ways, where we're looking at what's the quickest way to get the most out of this land. How can we get all the richness out of that land? So we're spraying the land with pesticides. We're covering it with fertilizers that are a byproduct of the meat industry. And we're basically depleting that land just for a quick profit. So vegan on the perspective of just, is it separate from animal products? No, most of the food we're eating is not separate from animal products. We're eating food that's grown in animal manure from slaughter, from factory farms. We're growing our food in blood meal, which is a byproduct of the slaughter industry, and then also we're spraying with pesticides that are destroying our natural ecosystems. We're growing monocrops that are meaning that nature doesn't have a place in our environment anymore. And for me, that's sad. That's not the kind of world that I want to be a part of creating. I think that we can aspire for so much more than that.
People say that grass-fed beef is the way forward, and organic beef is the way forward. But the reality is, if the meat-eating population of today were to all eat grass-fed beef, we would need 3 planets in order to sustain the population, and it's just not sustainable, it's not possible.
What we're actually building up to is a massive crisis, and we're potentially building up to a civilization collapse because we're totally mismanaging the land. And that's why I think it's so important that we go back to those principles of working with nature, with looking at how to work with the native species, how to build the actual richness of the soil rather than taking the nutrients out of it.
85% of the world's surface is used to feed livestock. Livestock consists of 80 billion animals, and that's for a population, world population of 7 billion people, many of whom are going hungry and a number of whom don't eat meat regularly. So it's only people in the first world, which is a fraction of the 7 billion, but the mathematics of 80 billion livestock to feed a small, very much smaller population just doesn't make sense.
And this is what's mad about our current situation. We're basically compounding one issue after another, and we're coming up with these sort of quick fixes, these solutions, we're putting patches on it, and we're not actually dealing with the structural issues of the fact that we've got an unsustainable system. And we're just basically going, oh yeah, we'll just do this thing and that will solve that and that will solve that. And it's a house of cards really, and it's going to collapse sooner or later. Take plastic for an example. I know it's not exactly related to how we grow our food, but the moment people invented plastic bottles, the first thing that should have been asked was, oh, what do you do with it when it's finished? How is it going to be broken down after it's used? That was obvious from the very first plastic bottle that was ever created that was going to be an issue. But instead of thinking, oh yeah, we should come up with a solution, or we shouldn't do this, people just thought, yeah, it's alright, why would you stress about a detail like that? We're making money, this is quick, this is simple, and you can see now what's happened from that complacency. We're now in a situation where our oceans are just full of plastic. The reality of our ecosystems is that they are complicated, they are connected, and if we don't make those connections, we're just building up to a massive problem down the line. And I think we are the people that are now going to see these massive problems unfolding. So it's the best time now is really to actually understand what those solutions are and make them happen on a large scale while we still have the opportunity.